Hi, everyone. This is David. Welcome to How to Build a Highly Profitable Business, Session 5, Increasing Productivity. By way of introduction, this session presents how small business owners perform services or provide products more efficiently and effectively. Production is the process of performing a service or producing a product. Many of you are service providers, product providers, or even both. But either way, this will apply to either or. Now, once again, let me remind you of our core business processes. Obviously, the idea is to, when you begin your new business, the idea is to have a vision of where you want to be. And typically, we talk about a 5-year plan. In other words, we understand that most small businesses start very small, meaning either by yourself or you and your spouse or you and a few partners or whatever the case may be. But the bottom line is the human resources are few. And so the concept is that we want to look to over the next 5 years of how we can get to the point to where we build a highly profitable business. And as we've stated, you'll never build a highly profitable business unless you install the processes that we talk about. So once again, we've already talked about managing these processes, and we've talked about the research and development process, the marketing and sales process, and of course, today we're talking about the production process. Next week, we'll talk about the finance process as far as increasing cash flow. And the final week, we'll talk about customer service. And customer service allows you to retain the clients or customers that you have, to generate more billings or revenue from your existing customers, and to get your customers to refer you to other customers. And again, we'll be talking about those things over the next couple of weeks. Now, once again, if you look at it from a process standpoint, the idea is that we begin our process by doing the research and development. And as I've stated, when you start your business, in a sense, you've already done that. You're going to now offer your services or your products to the market you want to serve. But as time goes on, the idea is that you would continuously research and develop, improve the products or services you have, increase your product revenue lines by adding new products, new services, etc. The idea is that we want to consistently market or communicate to the target market we're serving. And the idea is to generate prospective clients. And as we generate those prospective clients, we want to take them through a sales process that takes them from being a prospective client to becoming a client or, again, a customer. And then, of course, once we've done that, now that we have a sale, now it's time for us to perform our service or deliver our product. And that's, of course, production, which we're going to talk about today. And again, next week, we'll talk about finance, increasing cash flow through operations. And of course, final week, customer service, which completes the processes. And of course, the cycle continues. All right. So when we talk about core business process results, the reason why we do all of these things is stated on the right-hand side. So for today, the reason why we perform production is to increase productivity. At least that's the outcome. That's what we're wanting to do. If we perform a service, we want to do so efficiently and effectively. If we develop a product or purchase a product for resale, we want to do so productively. Either way, it works. Now, again, we come back to the 6 main small business problems. We've talked about competition. We've talked about profitability. We talked about the lack of getting clients or customers. But today we're going to focus on productivity. The idea is, again, looking at the way that we perform our services, looking at the way we provide or develop our products. And the idea is, how can we do it better? How can we become more efficient? How can we become more effective? And of course, when we talk about effective, the idea is the desired outcome from the production process. For example, the quality of your service, the quality of your product. We're not just looking to develop a product, we're wanting to develop it productively, but the effectiveness would be what type of product. And so that's important for us to understand. Now, again, we'll talk about cash flow and client retention in the next few weeks. So as we state, the reason for small business problems, at least in this case, is because most freelancers, sole proprietors, or small incorporated businesses such as an LLC or an S Corp don't perform their services or produce their products efficiently and effectively. That's a main problem. So if you want to increase profitability, one of the main ways to do that is to perform your services or develop your products or purchase your products more efficiently and effectively. All right, now what I want to do today is give you ourselves as an example, okay? And so, in other words, when we sat back and said, okay, how can we show them how to improve their productivity, their profitability, et cetera? And we just thought, well, probably the easiest part is to explain what we do and how we've done this. So, as many of you may know, we used to be a certified public accounting firm providing professional services. We got to a point, and I'll touch upon this, that we realized we don't need to be a CPA firm, nor do we want to be a CPA firm. Now, we want to provide many services a CPA firm would provide, but we just don't want to do it as a CPA firm. And again, I'll bring up some reasons for that. So the point being made is that what I want to do is compare ourselves to a traditional CPA firm. So in a traditional CPA firm, now, by the way, I should also state that you have what's called the Big Four national accounting firms, and then you have local CPA firms who serve small businesses in their community. So most of you would be acquainted with the CPA firm in your community, okay? So they pretty much provide bookkeeping, payroll, accounting, audit, and income tax preparation services. So what we do, and again, this is to give you an example of how you work with your products or services, how you're consistently improving them. So when we started, we did the same thing. We provided bookkeeping, payroll, accounting, and income tax services. Okay. However, as time has gone on, and since we only work with small businesses, we've come to realize that they need more than what we have to offer. And we're in a perfect position to offer it to them. So the first thing we did was we expand our revenue streams. And so what we did is we started offering digital marketing services, website development services, and video production services. And all three of those go together. You can't do one without the other, okay? And so we provided those services. And then again, we provide bookkeeping, payroll, accounting, and we also add accounting analysis, what we call business performance analysis services, and not just income tax preparation, but income tax planning and preparation. So this is the first example of how you look at your production, the services you offer, the products you serve, and you ask yourselves, are there other things that we can do beyond what we're doing now that complement what we're doing, and they're in our realm of professionalism? So for example, for information, one of the reasons why we do so well with digital marketing, website development, and video production is because when it comes to the first two, digital marketing and website development, the idea is that it all deals with analytics. When you begin performing digital marketing, you analyze what you're doing and the results of what you're doing. And based on your analysis, helps you to evolve, helps you to refine your digital marketing and website development, okay, as well as video production. Okay, so anyway, continuing on here. So as far as accounting services production process, okay, now again, this would apply to all of you. And again, no matter what service you offer, whether if it's accounting or plumbing or electricity or landscaping or home building, whatever it is, or if it's products, okay, whether if it's, clothing or whatever type of product you offer, these 5 things apply to your production process. And so it begins with, and again, I use accounting here because I'm using us as an example. So accounting services production process. And so you begin with the organization, how you're organized. And primarily, we're talking about human organization, who you hire, what talents they need, so on and so forth. And then we talk about workflow, whether if you provide a service, you deliver a product, the idea is what's the workflow? What's step 1? What's step 2? What's step 3? Okay. And then, of course, you have a team. And then you have tools. and then you have policies and procedures. So again, no matter what type of business you have, those 5 things are in play. Okay, so let's talk about each one of those. And again, I just want to use us as an example of how you increase your offerings. And so in a traditional accounting organization, the structure is, as far as the organizational structure, is they have a partner or partners on top of the hierarchy, followed by the managers who serve the partners, followed by the professionals, followed by non-professionals. A non-professional would be anybody who's not a CPA. A partner, a manager, a professional would all be CPAs, okay, in a traditional CPA firm. Now, as far as traditional workflow in a local CPA firm, and this is very familiar, it's also very similar, I should say, to a national organization. But the idea is that you begin with, in this case, the proprietor or the partner. In other words, the owner of the CPA firm. Okay. So the owner of a CPA firm is typically, at least a good owner, not only has the technical expertise, or I should say, had the technical expertise when they first begin, they're technical experts, whether it be tax, accounting, whatever the case may be, as they move up from staff to management to partner. Once they get to a partner, they no longer are performing the services other than reviewing the work that goes out the door, since they're the ones who sign it, okay, such as a tax return. So again, when I talk about a proprietor, I'm talking about the partner. They still are a CPA, okay? So underneath them then is that, so, and I guess what I'm saying is that a partner is now a rainmaker. 9 times out of 10, the reason why somebody's made a partner in a CPA firm is because they know how to bring clients in. They have a clientele. And so keep that in mind as I go through this workflow. So the proprietor or the partner, okay, the idea is that they pick up a client. And let's just say, for example, it happens to be a tax return. So they turn around and they meet with the manager and say, manager, here's the client, here's the work, here's when it's due, here's the budgets, here's a few things you need to know about this client. Okay. And so the manager takes the work, turns around and delegates it to a professional. And the professional then does the work. They perform the tax return. Okay. When they're done, they give it back to the manager, and the manager reviews. They go through a checklist of, have they done this? Have they looked for this? So on and so forth. And sometimes they'll have what's called review points, and they'll give it back to the professional, meaning that, did you take a look at this? Or you may want to modify this, or whatever the case may be. And the professional will go through those review points and give it back to the manager once they've reviewed it. Now, the manager then, for the most part, the work is done. But again, since the partner or the proprietor, it's their signature on it, they want to take what we call a cursory review. So in other words, just a few minutes and just thumb through it to make sure, the T's are crossed, the I's are dotted, so on and so forth. And then it goes to a non-professional staff member who takes the product and mails it, emails it, processes it, whatever the case may be. So in other words, that's why we list proprietor client at the top. So that's the workflow in all services, whether if it's an audit, accounting, payroll, tax, that's the way it works in a CPA firm. So in a CPA firm, a traditional local CPA firm, the traditional professional team members always have, that is the CPAs, the professional staff, they always have an accounting degree, they always have a master's degree, and they always have passed the CPA exam. Otherwise, if they didn't do those 3 things, they wouldn't be a CPA, okay? And so that's what you find in a traditional team. And this is one of the reasons why we realized we don't want to be a CPA firm. And I'll explain that here in a second. Now, as far as consortia, the idea then is that the way we're different is that we don't have a partner on top. We have a sales representative. And so we obviously have marketing and sales going on, and the sales representative is the one that closes the deal and picks up the client. And that's given to a manager. The manager, as we stated before, gives it to a professional who actually performs the work with the oversight of the manager. But when it's done, it goes to customer service. And customer service begins to intermingle. And we'll talk about this in 2 more sessions when we talk about customer service. And so that's how we're different. Now, again, to explain how that works, so we have marketing taking place, generating prospective clients. When we have a prospective client, we turn them over to our sales representative. And if the sales representative closes the sale and obtains a new client, then it's given to the manager. And now the manager and the professional are in the production realm. The manager is one who oversees and delegates the work to a professional. As I stated before, the professional does the work over the oversight and tutelage of the manager. Okay. And so then when the manager's done, again, of course, it's going to go straight to the client from the manager. Now, there's a lot more detail here I don't want to explain to you, but I just want to give you the concept. And of course, again, now what happens is the next stage is our customer service. So once it's been delivered, again, whether it's bookkeeping, accounting, whatever the case may be, once it's been delivered, our customer service will contact them and do, in a sense, a minor survey with them or ask them to, an evaluation. Now, we're looking for two things. Number one, we want to make sure they're happy. We want to make sure we've done everything we can to keep them satisfied. A customer will not come back, and again, we'll talk this in about 2 weeks. A customer will not come back unless they're happy. So that's very important to us, that they believe that, basically what they paid for what we provided was way worth the results, and the experience of working with us was a pleasant experience. That's the whole point. So number one, we want to make sure that they're happy. Number two, we want some feedback. Hey, if there's some areas that we can improve, if there's something that we didn't do right or, just didn't meet your expectations, please let us know that. And we'll go back to our system and we'll improve it to make sure that doesn't happen. Okay. So anyway, that's the process. And of course, it goes through this process again. Now, consortia professional team members. So here's what I'm saying. This is why we quit, for the most part, quit being a CPA firm. The idea is that, again, CPAs, the work, if you're a CPA firm, the work has to be performed by a CPA. And, I was a CPA for over 30 years and, I got my accounting degree, so on and so forth. And so I can speak from experience that what you find is that CPAs, when they go through their accounting degree, they go through the 1-year graduate degree, they pass the CPA exam. The idea is they're educated to perform work for large corporations, okay, like becoming a controller or a CFO. And that's if they're on the industry side. If they're on the public accounting side, again, they're trained specifically to work for a national accounting firm. It was kind of interesting to me because when I went from getting my CPA and my education, so on and so forth, for example, I found that, yes, when it came from the accounting principles taught, so on and so forth, that obviously was helpful. But I found that there was a big difference working for a small business than there was working for a large business. And I was trained to work for a large business, okay, or for a national accounting firm, either in industry or for public accounting. And so we soon realized that not only were they not trained properly for what we were wanting to do, working with small businesses, but not only that, but we were paying way too much money. Why in the world would you pay a person who just got out of school with their undergraduate, their graduate degree, they are working on or have passed the CPA exam? Why would you pay a premium for that person when a lot of what they've learned will not apply to you working with small businesses? So what we decided to do is let's go ahead and develop our own process. So if you look carefully in our website, you'll notice it says school. So we're a certified post-secondary school in the state of Utah, okay? And the reason for that is because we now have provided an education program. So in our education program, what you find is what you see here. So all of our team members have been trained specifically to work with small businesses. So it all begins with education. So they're required to go through several courses. In fact, they're the exact same courses I would have taken in college. Accounting, payroll, computerized accounting, so on and so forth. So from that standpoint, it's the same, but yet the way it's taught is for small businesses as opposed to large businesses, okay? And number two, instead of having to go through and take the CPA exam, We developed our own certifications. Okay. And by the way, education, what it does is develop your bookkeeping knowledge and understanding. A certification communicates bookkeeping knowledge and understanding to employers or clients. Okay. And then we go through what we'll talk about in a little bit. We'll talk about our own guidebooks. We've literally written a guidebook for how you do bookkeeping, for how you do payroll, for how you do accounting, for how you do analysis, for how you do tax return. We literally have developed our own guidebooks, and some of them are 300 pages long. Okay. But the point being made is that we train them on these guidebooks. And again, these guidebooks are written specifically for working with small businesses. Okay. So our training them, they learn best practice bookkeeping process, procedures, or steps, or payroll, or whatever the case may be. And so the training, of course, comes out of our guidebooks. Number 4, we want them to follow our best practice bookkeeping process, procedures, and steps. And then, of course, we want them to get some good hands-on experience. And so we're like a CPA firm in that standpoint, where once they've gone through the education, certification, training, and the guidebooks, then we want them to apply what they learn in the guidebooks by working under our managers. Okay, so they get hands-on experience is the whole idea. So if you are working with one of our bookkeepers, one of our payroll professionals, one of our tax people, accounting, whatever the case may be, they're all going to be people who have gone through our program and been educated, certified, trained, and experienced under our professionals that have been doing this for years, for example. So not only do we do that because we're training them exactly for what we need for the small business market we serve, but we don't want to have to spend, all the money you have to pay for a CPA who's not been trained to work as they have. To be totally honest with you, when you're working with a small business person, and let me just put it this way, you get a kid that comes out of college with an accounting degree and they have a graduate degree, and you ask them to keep books for a small business, they wouldn't have a clue of what to do because they've never been trained to do things like that. You train them to do payroll, they wouldn't have a clue what to do because they've never done that before. Okay, you don't learn that in an education. And so that's why we do. So what I'm saying is that we've developed it to where the people that come out of our program, when it comes to working with a small business, are much better educated, much better trained, much better experienced working with small businesses as compared to working with others. Now, again, the idea is not to sell you on us. The idea is to help you understand what we've done, how we go through the process of improving our productivity, because we were talking about teams, and that's the background. Now, the next thing we talked about in those 5 things is utilizing business technology and tools. So business technology and tools are tangible and intangible assets used to perform business processes. Utilize business tools that increase productivity, the effectiveness, and the efficiency that you're looking for. Okay. All right. Now, what we use here, and we've been using this for a long time, is that all the tools we use are designed for the cloud, or in other words, cloud computing. Okay. Now, just an example I'll give you here in a moment. You've heard of QuickBooks, and it used to be called QuickBooks. And later, when they came out with QuickBooks Online, which is their cloud-based computing, they started calling QuickBooks Desktop. So you have QuickBooks Desktop and you have QuickBooks Online. Most people have converted that use QuickBooks have converted over to online, okay, especially since they killed the desktop this year in July. And so anybody who never bought it before July 31st can no longer buy it. If you have it, you can keep using it for 3 years and they'll make some improvements, but then it's dead, period. Okay. And so we're finding obviously that this is those who have dragged their feet going to QuickBooks Online. They're going there because of that. And as they're going there, they're like, wow, why did I come here a long time ago? Because it's a much, much better product based on what I'm about to explain to you. So you're all used to having a desktop or a laptop, and you know that the hardware, that is the laptop or the desktop, maintains the programs and the data. And so unless you're connected to your laptop or to your desktop, you won't have access to your data or to your programs. Okay. And so, for example, if I have a desktop at the office and I'm working on it and I have, the data and the applications there and I go home, but I want to access it, I can't. Okay. Now, are there some ways around that? Yes, but not as seamless as cloud computing. So the point I'm trying to make here is when it comes to cloud computing, whether if it's accounting or any other type of cloud computing technology, the program and the data reside together in the cloud. Okay, instead of on a hard drive on your desktop or on your laptop. Okay, and so that means that since it's in the cloud, and as long as I have internet access, I can access that program, I can access that data from anywhere in the world. And these days, there's hardly any place that doesn't have internet access. So whether if I'm using my laptop or my phone or my desktop or my tablet, I always have access to the cloud, to the program and the data. Now, not just me, but our clients. And when our clients understand how powerful that is, they love it at any given time. Now, not only that, but as we work with our clients, okay, and they're wanting to have access to something that we are doing or have done, or we want to access something from them that we need. Again, that's when the cloud comes in as far as collaborating together. Okay. There's just nothing better than the cloud compared to the way things used to be. So in essence, the benefits of cloud computing is safe storage, never losing data to hardware issues or disasters because you lost your hard drive or it went down or whatever the case may be. Ease of access, you access the application and data at any time and from anywhere with any internet connected device, as we talked about. As far as shared access, collaboration I was talking about, you can share your application and data with your associates or your clients. Up-to-date software, when you access cloud software, it's always the latest edition. You don't have to upgrade every 3 years as you have done with QuickBooks or whatever the case may be. Okay. Maintenance, there's very little to no maintenance or hardware cost with cloud computing. Okay. So compared to the way it used to be, it's just no competition whatsoever. Okay. All right. So as far as small business responsibility, every small business has to do their bookkeeping. They have to do payroll if they have employees. In today's environment, they most likely have to have a merchant account. If you're not selling through a merchant account or processing the merchant account, you're really hurting your cash flow. Now, we're going to talk about cash flow next week, okay? And merchant account has a lot to do with it. So I'll wait until you attend at that time. Next week is called Increasing Cash Flow. And so anyway, and then as far as accounting, okay, they're responsible for their accounting. They have to do it. They don't have to do business performance analysis, but if they really want to understand, accounting is nothing more than providing information to decision makers, typically, obviously, the small business owner. We're giving you this information and we're giving it to you on a timely, relevant, reliable basis to help you make decisions. As a small business owner, you make decisions virtually every day. Should I update my technology? Should I, buy this new vehicle? Should I upgrade my printer? Should I hire this person? Should I let somebody go? All these questions that you have, should be made based on your financial information. Okay. All right. So anyway, what I'm trying to say is that, again, as a small business owner, got to do bookkeeping, payroll if you have employees. You should be doing a merchant account. Again, you'll learn more about that next week. You should be doing your accounting, not you personally, but it should be done. You should be doing business performance analysis, which I promise you will help you make better business decisions. And not only should you be doing tax preparation, but you should be doing tax planning to reduce your taxes. Okay. And then, of course, do your tax preparation. So having said that, then most of you may not know this, but not only is there QuickBooks Online, but there's a suite of products that's called the QuickBooks Online ecosystem. So in other words, for bookkeeping, it's called QuickBooks Online. For payroll, it's called QuickBooks Online Payroll. For merchant account, it's called QuickBooks Payments. For accounting, it's called QuickBooks Online Accountant. For business performance analysis, it's called Fathom. Now, Fathom is a third party, but it works seamlessly, subscription, but it works seamlessly with QuickBooks Online. Now, if you happen to buy a higher level subscription plan to QuickBooks Online, Fathom is going to be in it, okay, already. But it's quite a jump from the standard version, which most of our clients use, to getting the one that has Fathom. And so we talk more about that later. But then there's tax planning and preparation. And instead of calling it QuickBooks, the maker of QuickBooks is called Intuit. They call it Intuit ProConnect Tax Online. And all of these are cloud computing. All of these are, and not only that, but the reason why they're so important is because they seamlessly integrate. For example, once in a while, we'll pick up a client, and the time we pick them up, they'll say, oh, we use Paychex or ADP for our payroll. And we'll say, well, number one, the reason why we'd recommend you not do that is because if you want payroll information, you're going to have to go to ADP or Paychex. Wouldn't it be better to have it within your QuickBooks Online? Everything's together. And the QuickBooks Online payroll product, in my mind, is superior to ADP and Paychex. And the cost is pretty much in the same level. And so why not get a product that is just as good, that integrates within, your bookkeeping product, as opposed to something that's outside the norm? Anyway, for your information. So it's called the QuickBooks Online ecosystem. So these are all the tools that we use, as I've stated. Now, as far as policies and procedures, that was the fifth thing, the last thing we want to talk about. And that is one of the things that we do, and this is what we recommend to our clients, and we can even help our clients with it if they'd like, but the idea to get another pair of eyes in there. But the idea is that when you look at your processes, so example, if you perform a service, if you provide a product or you develop a product or buy products, whatever the case may be, there's a process involved. And so one of the first things you do is you literally write down the process. Now, one of the things that I used to do years ago as I consulted with other CPA firms, the idea is that we'd get the partners together and I would say, okay, let's talk about how you prepare a tax return. And so they would go around the room and I'd say, well, what's the first step? And they'd say this. And I'd say, what's the second step? This, third step, just let's go through the step by step of how it's done. Okay. And so when it was all said and done, this is something they've never done. And so when you have a process, not only do you become more efficient at what you do, and again, preparing a tax return in my example, but you're able to analyze it and say, how can we do better? And as time goes on, especially with new technology, you ask yourself, now, why do we do that? Well, we did that based on the way things were at that time. Whereas the new technology, we don't need to do that kind of a thing. So the idea is that no matter what you do, again, landscaping, plumbing, whatever the case may be, the idea is to develop policies and procedures for each one of those. Okay. And not only that, but it's a great tool for training people. So even though I have somebody come online, for example, one of our new bookkeepers, if they have the education, the certification, so on and so forth, we want them to learn our system. Okay. And so it's also good to have it written out so that you're able to train somebody on how to use it. Okay. Like if you're a mortgage company or a real estate company or something like that. So the point is that the first step would be to write down the way you're doing it now. Then the idea is to look at it and question it and say, hey, can we avoid steps? Or do we need to add steps? Or do we need to change policies? Or do we need to change technology, whatever the case may be? When we went from the QuickBooks desktop ecosystem to the QuickBooks Online ecosystem, okay, we had to revise our policies and procedures for all the services we offered. Okay. And so the idea is that you don't just write it down once and let it go, but you're continuously improving your processes by going through what I just talked about. Okay. So what we've done then is that we have what's called for our bookkeeping, we've developed our bookkeeping with QuickBooks Online guide. We developed our payroll with QuickBooks Online payroll guide. We developed our automatic payments with QuickBooks Payments Guide. We developed our accounting with QuickBooks Online Accountant Guide, business analysis with Fathom Guide, tax preparation Intuit Connect Guide. So we've started by just saying, hey, let's write out, the way we do something. How do we do bookkeeping? And then we improved it, improved it, improved it. And finally, we put it into an actual guidebook. Okay, that we now, as we begin to train people. So when I mentioned to you that we get people who have a basic, education, several accounting type courses, then they get a certification. Then the next thing we do is we give them access to our guidebook and we train them on how we perform bookkeeping, how we perform payroll, so on and so forth. Okay. So again, I'm trying to give you this an example of what you should be doing in your business. Now, again, I'm not trying to tell you what to do. I'm just trying to tell you that you're always looking for ways to increase your productivity. Don't just be satisfied with the norm, and you should be looking at it annually. And so the first thing you do, you can't look at it unless you have it written down. And it doesn't have to be, every single nut and bolt, so on and so forth. Just the generics of, how do we do something? So for example, in my example here, how do we do bookkeeping? A client gives us, wants us to do their bookkeeping. What's step one? What's step two? What's step three? All the way through. And then we update that at least once a year, okay, is the idea. So this is an example of what I'm talking about. Okay, so the bottom line is that we're trying to get you to increase productivity. These are just some examples of how it's done. Okay. Now, again, with some of our clients, they're saying, "Hey, we're going to go write this down, and we would like some fresh eyes to help you walk us through and see if there's anything else you can do." Now, to be honest with you, we do that mostly in increasing cash flow, which we'll talk about next week. Okay, and also the next one beyond that, customer service. But we're happy to do that. But the bottom line is that, again, I just want to give you an idea of, if you really want to increase productivity, the idea is to take a look at the way we suggest to you and come up with other ways to find out, how can you perform to the effectiveness and to the quality standards that you want as efficiently as you can. Okay, hopefully this has been helpful. And once again, our next session will be increasing cash flow. That's almost a must. I strongly recommend that you attend that. And then after that, we're going to talk about customer service, which is retaining customers, increasing revenue, and referrals. Thanks for attending. Have yourselves a great day.